Hello there, welcome to Bryan Lomax Movie Talk and my review for Ad Astra. This is a film I've been looking forward to for quite some time since the original trailers came out. I am a big sci-fi nut. I like science fiction movies, especially when they're done right. Some of my all-time favourite movies are sci-fi movies. This is directed by James Gray. It stars Brad Pitt and Tomy Lee Jones, Donald Sutherland and Ruth Negga. And it follows this guy played by Pitt who he's a bit detached from humanity. He's very good, very cool-headed in quite stressful situations because he knows how to detach himself from it and stay relaxed, stay calm, and just think about how to solve the problem, this, that, and the other. He's kind of pushed away a lot of people in his life, his wife, this, that, and the other. And yeah, he's part of the space program. Now, when the higher-ups in the American US military space programmy types kind of come to him and say, look, your dad, who essentially went off on a mission years ago, could very well be the guy who's responsible for these kind of signals that are being sent out across the galaxy from Neptune and are really playing havoc with all kinds of electrical disturbances and things on Earth that could end up being quite catastrophic. We need you to go and basically stop your dad, or just talk him down, basically get him to come back home. Strange one for me, this, because I think I wanted to like this a lot more. Well, I mean, obviously you don't go into any film not wanting to like it, but I thought that I would love this. I thought this would be right up my street, and I do really like it. I've got to say that, you know, there's a lot here to admire, big time. Particularly certain set pieces. Now, first of all, the cinematography by Hoyt van Hoytema, who is one of my favourite cinematographers at the moment. If I was to do a top 5 cinematographers working today, he would be in it. He would certainly be probably top 2. Him and Roger Deakins, for me, are just, yeah, absolutely brilliant. So, you know, given some of the stuff he's shot in the past, Interstellar, for example, let the right one in. Interstellar is probably the film that many will draw the most kind of, yeah, parallels to, shall we say. Because it's about, you know, essentially a man who looks to the stars for, you know, to get away from humanity, so to speak, only to realize in the end that actually humanity is where he needs to be. So the fact that this is, as I say, shot by the same cinematographer as Interstellar is going to draw those comparisons as well. I think his work here is considerably different, to be honest. Has a much darker palette to it. You know, I mean, that probably sounds weird given that we're in space. There's a lot of blackness in space, but yeah, there was a lot more greys, a lot more whites in Interstellar, whereas here we're dealing with much darker colours. But either way, it's still incredibly beautiful. There are some action sequences in this that, again, once they kick off, they really draw you in. They feel fresh, they feel exciting. They're shot in a way that I feel I've never seen before. We get one set piece on the moon, basically a car chase on the moon, which is incredibly done. It feels genuine. It feels like that's how it would play out. There's an opening sequence in which Pitt has to kind of, yeah, deal with the first of these kind of waves that are being brought from Neptune that causes some damage and gets him into a situation that he has to get out of. And it's, yeah, it's beautifully shot, and it's quite terrifying, just because of how realistic it looks, and just, yeah, nerve-wracking for anyone who really doesn't like heights, myself being one of those people. Now, the film I would draw most associations to with regards to this is the Japanese film called The Wings of Honiamise, which I think I pronounced right. I saw it many years ago, and that is about this guy who is part of the space program. He's desperate to trying to get away from Earth, and then once he's up in space, he realizes that he wants to go back down, and that actually anything of any value, anything of any meaning, true meaning, is down there, which it's yeah, again, like I say, is essentially what this film is trying to say. I do like this film. I like what it's trying to say. I like the way it says it. I think that it holds a mirror up to the world as it is. One particular sequence, as I said, when they go to the moon and we've kind of started to colonize it, we've built stations on there, and we get this moment when Pitt is kind of looking around and we hear a bit of a voiceover from him, and it does kind of make you think about actually what is the point of going out to the stars if all we're going to do when we get to them is exactly the same thing we do here, which is pollute the place, become consumers. If you go to another planet and all you've got is a KFC and a McDonald's and a Starbucks and all them lot, and people just buying and selling, and it's like, really, is that the grand purpose for going out into space? Maybe we should work on back home first, and ourselves, I guess, as people first. So I like that the film explores that. I like that the way that it explores it for the most part. But I will say that the film left me feeling a bit cold at times, a bit emotionally uninvolved. Like, I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, this is beautiful, this is really arresting. I do like this central character played by Pitt. I like the story. But I felt detached, I guess, in much the same way that Pitt's character is. There is moments towards the end that I felt should have resonated with me more, when we get essentially the awakening of Pitt's character to love, to life, to people. I felt like it should have hit me more. It should have connected with me more, and it didn't. So I was kind of left coming away from the film being, really appreciating it on every technical level and technical aspect, and even Pitt's performance as well. Like seeing some of the subtleties in his performance and whatnot. All that was good, and yet for some reason, I don't quite know why, I just felt slightly more emotionally detached than I feel like I should. Another slight negative for me is that there were a few plot points that I feel could have been mashed together so that we cut out a bit of screen time. I felt like there was information that is given at various points in the film where actually we could have given that piece of information and that piece of information at the same time and put them into one plot point, rather than dividing it up into several plot points, which then kind of ekes the movie out longer than it needs to be. There's a lot of voiceover in this as well, narration, so we hear a lot of kind of the inner workings of Pitt's character's mind, what he's thinking, and I don't know, there are times when it feels a bit lazy, when it gets the points across that the film is trying to make in exposition, which for me personally, I've always kind of been more against that. There are times when Pitt's character tells us something which I feel like maybe should have been showed. Like, if you take away that narration, if you take away the fact that he's telling us these things in the narration, would it still be there? Would those themes, would those points of view still be there? Would they come out of the visuals? And if not, then for me that's not a very good voiceover. And there are times in this film when I feel that is the case. Like, the scene on the moon is a prime example of that. From a visual standpoint, you could have a scene on Earth in which Pitt's character is going through a shopping mall, seeing all the capitalism, all the consumerism, and then you could mirror that scene on the moon, shoot it in practically the exact same framing and this, that and the other, so that then you draw that connection that actually, this is what we're doing. We're just doing the same thing on the moon, on other planets that we're doing on Earth, which isn't particularly great. And then you've shown that visually, through the visual language of film, whereas what we get is the scene on the moon with Pitt's voiceover telling us this whole notion of just taking that to other planets and stuff. So again, it's that idea of a film should show, not tell, and I feel that one too many times we're being told. This also feels quite reminiscent of Sunshine, one of my favourite science fiction films, as is Interstellar. You know, you have that concept of mankind reaching the outer edges of space and essentially the loneliness, the isolation, sending them a bit crazy, and we get elements of that here in quite a big way. So yeah, like I say, it is one of those films where you can't help but kind of think of other science fiction movies, other similar films that have done, yeah, the same kind of thing. So again, like I say, Interstellar, Gravity as well, I guess, at some points, Wings of Honeyomeze, Sunshine, all those films, it kind of, yeah, it has vibes of them, and yet all those films, for me personally, were better. So that's one of the problems, I guess. You know, when you have that element that if it reminds you of another film and that film is better, it does feel a bit disappointing. I would definitely still recommend watching this film. Like I say, the visuals alone are worth the admission price. It's just as someone who, like I say, Interstellar's in my top 10 of all time. Sunshine is up there. I love movies set in space, and this was very high on my to watch list this year. It was one of the films I'd be looking forward to. I just think over familiarity and a slight disconnect, emotionally speaking, bring it down a bit for me. So I'm going to give it a 3.5 out of 5. I don't know if things will change on a second watch. That has been known to happen where, you know, I remember Big Fish being a prime example. I didn't emotionally engage with that at all, really, first time around. And yet the second time, I was very much emotionally invested. So it could have just been the mood I was in. I don't know. But for now, those are my thoughts. 3.5 out of 5. But what about you? Have you seen Ad Astra? And if so, what did you think about it? Comment below, let me know your thoughts, and until next time, crack in.